in pursuit. Oh, excuse me, 75 and 77 in pursuit. Holman stops, comes back, basically uncovered. 6 points. That's an easy touchdown for the Bengals.
That was Howie Long who almost got him, number 75.
This is a very, very versatile offense. An awful lot of movement. Difficult for defenses to keep track of the Bengals.
Blair Bush will snap. Steve Kreider will hold. And Jim Breach, who's hit 6 of 6 on point after tries in 3 games this year, will try for the 7th point. What's going on here? Did he get there? He did.
Not designed. Busted play. Busted play. The snap was high. The snap was high. Kreider didn't think he could get it down. And the young man out of Lehigh, you'll see right here, he bobbles it a little bit. Not designed. Busted play. Good job by Kreider. The extra point is good. 7-0 Cincinnati Bengals.
Caps a 63-yard drive for the early lead.
For the Bengals because it puts them on top. 2, you see the pressure. Williams on Plunkett, but 3 for Ken Riley. He now stands alone as the leading active interceptor in the NFL. 53 now, 1 ahead of Mel Blount of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Oddly enough, although he's intercepted 53, as you said, Trump, most of any active player, only the 3rd touchdown of his career on an interception return.
13 years the guy has played, never been to a Pro Bowl, never named to an All-Star game, never named to a second-team All-Star game. One of the most consistent cornerbacks in the last 13 years of the NFL.
The snap again was a little high, but this time Kreider handled it without difficulty, got it down, Breach boots it through. 14-0 Cincinnati.
In Foxborough, Steve Grogan replacing Matt Cavanaugh as quarterback. He was the starter today, Grogan. Here he throws his 2nd touchdown pass of the day, 23 yards to Stanley Morgan, and the Patriots lead the Oilers 14-7 in the 1st quarter.
Bob, the Los Angeles Raiders in 8 attempts, now 9 attempts at first down are averaging 1/2 yard per attempt on first down. That is no good.
It's a bit lacking, yes. Barnwell the target, and he's got it. That'll improve that average. Well, 2nd down play won't improve the average at all.
35 yards on the reception by Barnwell, and he had Lewis Breeden beat. And one of the instinctive things, watch when Barnwell gets by, you see how he puts himself in the spot where if Breeden is going to get to the football, he's going to have to do it through pass interference. Excellent, excellent job by Barnwell, keeping himself between, keeping Lewis Breeden away from the foot. Creation by the Bengals. You see King begin to dodge people. There's Ross Browner, who finally makes the tackle. It appears unless the Raiders are going to run inside that defensive end, that's a power play, they're going to be in trouble. St. Louis over Atlanta, 14-3.
That's at Atlanta in the 2nd quarter. Buffalo an early lead on Baltimore. Boy, the Colts looked terrible when we saw them last week at New York. Barr has hit 4 of 6 on field goal tries. Mark Wilson holds at the 21. 31-yard attempt. The Raiders are on the board. To play first half. Bengals lead it by 11.
It appeared to me that 53 of the Los Angeles Raiders, Rod Martin, was making penetration. There he is, and he took Collinsworth's eyes off the ball. Therefore, the fumble recovered by Lyle Alzado, and a big break for the Los Angeles Raiders. This is a team of great character. You see the play-action fake, and it appeared that Ken Riley was expecting support from the inside. Lewis Breeden and Ken Riley get there a split second too late. 6 points, and Branch has done that to a lot of teams.
For Cliff Branch, his 2nd touchdown reception of the season. He's closing in on 60 for his career.
That drive, 38 yards in 17 seconds.
Economy of effort. Barr out of Wilson's hole, drills it through. 12 minutes and 16 seconds to play 2nd quarter. Raiders right back in it. They trail 14-10.
Or non-possession.
So instead of a first down, it's 2nd and 10 at the 35. Quick pattern works for a first down to Collinsworth.
into this game, we knew that the Raiders were going to be in single coverage. But one of the things that has to help that single coverage is pressure on the quarterback. And the Raiders have not gotten pressure on Ken Anderson as yet. See 83 at the top of your screen, picked up by Pete Johnson. We haven't called Ted Hendricks' number yet today, have we? For a tackle or any sort of bothersome activity. That first, good play by Pete Johnson. It's now the second fumble by the Bengals. The last one resulted in 6 points by the Raiders.
It squirted right through Lapham's legs. Raiders have it. Wilson, the backup quarterback. Broken up.
Derek Ramsey was the intended receiver, and he was the Raiders' leading receiver last year. Has not caught a pass this year. Mark Wilson out of BYU, you would think he'd try to throw it to Todd Christensen, wouldn't you? He's also from BYU.
He had lots of time, Trump.
He was covered. He was absolutely covered. It did not work.
Bengals weren't fooled. They still lead 14-10.
And Ross, the tight end, just goes out from the line of scrimmage, kind of picks off Davis, who was coming in, along with Kreider. I think they have a legitimate point. That's stretching the rules, but nevertheless, good for 27 yards. Anderson now 6 of 7.
Atlanta with a field goal to close the gap to 14-6. Buffalo up 10 in the second at home against the Colts. Ryder's been a key man in this first half for the Bengals.
Always have been. Always has been. Clutch receiver.
On first down, Anderson wobbles one out over the head of Pete Johnson. Their lead on the Oilers. You'll see highlights of most of these games and get updated on all the scores at halftime. We go back to New York for NFL 82. Redskins off to a good start.
Without Joe Washington, which rather surprises me. Very versatile back.
Alexander, who was in for one play, now goes out, and Steve Kreider is back in as they go with a 3-wide receiver alignment. 2nd and 10. Ball at the 39-yard line of the Raiders. Flag goes down, so does Anderson, but the sack may not hold up.
I think it's now termed defensive encroachment.
Extra defensive backs in on this 3rd and long play, guilty of the interference, and there it is, number 23 as he shoved Kreider.
Short and deep coverage on McKinney. Ted Watt still down, and the bad news is he's down right about where the pitcher's mound insert is on this AstroTurf. They're checking his knee too. I hope that is not serious. I hope that is not an ear injury, but you can see the pitcher's mound right there in front of him, and you can see the little lip there, and occasionally you do get a foot caught, which can result in an injury. Hopefully it will not be serious.
First down, Bengals at the Raider 24. Years has used him more around end and off tackle than previously.
True, and also as a pass receiver out in the flat. He can bring stars to the eyes of a lot of it. Defensive backs. Overthrown to Alexander by Anderson. Holman, Harris, and Ross. All 3 tight ends now in for the Bengals.
Ross in motion. They got the first down with Alexander carrying when everybody in the building expected it to be Pete Johnson.
He is a blunderbuss coming up through there. Along with Pete Johnson, you see Alexander roll right over 74 Archie Reese for the first down.
Glenn Berman, Mike Adamle, Pete Axthelm and company, Byron Day at halftime.
Report now on Ted Watt's twisted knee. They'll tape it up. But generally, if it's a severely twisted knee, in about 45 minutes, it's going to be very, very stiff. I would think it's pretty likely that Ted Watts probably will not return.
4:15 remaining second quarter. First and 10, 12, Pete Johnson to about the 6.
Bengals have now had the ball for about 8 minutes, 25 seconds on this drive. 4:05 left in the second quarter. Knocking on the door once again. Watch Pete Johnson just put his head down behind Lapham. behind Munoz, behind Blair Bush. When he puts that head down, he has seriously injured some Bengal offensive linemen in the past. Now 6 carries, 30 yards, and all tough yards. Officially 7 for 32.
Second down, 4 at the 6. Again. He's got a first down. It'll be first and goal at about the 1. You were telling me last night about the kind of athlete Pete Johnson is. He stands 6 feet tall, weighs closer to 260 than is listed 249, and yet he can dunk a basketball.
Correct. I've seen him do it several times. And once again, good blocking by the Bengal offensive line. You see the linebacker, 51, blown off the line of scrimmage, Bob Nelson. And when Pete Johnson can hit you in the stomach with a head of steam, he's going to gain 4 and 5 yards. First and goal for the Bengals.
Led 14-0. Raiders have come back to make it 14-10.
Looks like something right here, Bob. There it is.
You're right. It's Johnson. And he's in there.
Good lead block by Charles Alexander. Great turnout by the tight end. Right behind Mike Wilson, number 77. And all you need is for a little bow in that defensive line, and Pete Johnson can get up through there. Watch 40, Alexander. Stick his head right in that defensive end. Max Montoya out of UCLA. Coming around on the phone. Hendricks cannot stop him. 6 points, Bengals.
They made contact with him before he got to the goal line, but he just shirked Ted Hendricks off as if he wasn't there.
Which is difficult to do.
Ryder to hold, reach to kick. Again a high snap, but Kreider gets it down and Reach gets it through.
Well, I'm not sure this is true, but in a game where there is a lot of dampness on the field, the ball gets heavy. It may be that Blair Bush is just trying to make up for that heavy ball. It's supposed to spin a certain number of times to come up right, and he has not had a good snap yet on the extra point.
The touchdown for Pete Johnson was his 3rd of the year. A reminder, we have a second half of the doubleheader coming up. Those of you watching this game will either see the Steelers and the Seahawks from the Kingdome, the Rams going against the Chiefs, or Denver against San Diego.
Look at this Pagel play for Baltimore. Nice little shovel pass to Zach Dixon. Beautiful. Except an eligible receiver was downfield, and the whole thing got called back. Now Joe Ferguson goes 18 yards to 82. Frank Lewis. Bills are driving. They're leading 3-0 at the time. Here's how that drive ended up. Roosevelt leaks, 1-yard plunge. Buffalo took the lead 10-0, and another 1-yard plunge for Leaks, upped it to 17-0. The Colts haven't scored now in 3 months, counting this.
2 touchdown passes, and there's a lonely fan who's enjoyed his heroics. A quarterback change also for the Oilers. Manning replacing Gifford Nielsen, and here Archie gets loose for 24 yards on this scramble down to the 1. A play later, Campbell scored. It was 7-0 Houston. But then Grogan came right back. Here, his very first pass of this 82 season, a long one. 62 yards into the waiting arms of Stanley Morgan. That tied the game at 7. And then later in the first quarter, again Grogan to the airwaves, again with time, and again Stanley Morgan alone in the end zone. It made it 14-7. Dan Miller has kicked 2 field goals. It is 20-7 in favor of the Patriots at halftime. If they win, they will up their record to 2-2.
Moments ago, you play the referee. Robert Weathers on the carry. He goes down and fumbles, but it looked like the ground caused the fumble. That shouldn't have been, but they give it to Houston. They're driving, and they're trailing. Back to you, Bob.
Thank you, Lenny. Here it's 21-10 in favor of the Bengals. Plunkett trying to find Barnwell. Lobbed it in between the 2 defenders for the completion at the 48.
You watch the pressure up front once again, 17 yards on that catch. But a 53, Bo Harris, Eddie Edwards pressure, desperation throw by Jim Plunkett, and a completion. That's a double rotation zone. Corners up, safety's out. Watch the hit. Brian Hicks on Barnwell. Excellent reception. Oh, and
watch
how about
the hit on the official?
He's up. They're both up. Everybody's an interesting half here. The Raiders have allowed a grand total of 7 points. Excuse me, make that 10 points by their opponents in the second half of the games that they've played. Still a deep threat is Cliff Branch.
Branch has caught 5 today for 79 yards and a couple of touchdowns. So, Trump, I think we ought to say that the primary targets have done their share.
Now,
Barr to kick, Wilson to hold. It's a 21-17 game with 6 minutes and 31 seconds to play, third quarter, at sold-out Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati. And that's a point. This is the Bengals' first home game after the strike. It took them until yesterday, but they did sell all the seats.
a pass, just throw it up, let Curtis try to outrun Lester Hayes. The official gets decked here on the sideline. We might be able to see it. Lester Hayes falls down, and at about there, Curtis appears to step out of bounds, but nevertheless a first down for Cincinnati at the 28-yard line.
Not a 73-yard touchdown, but nonetheless a 45-yard gain.
Talk about deep threats. Back when he was drafted out of San Diego State, what a weapon he was.
Two of the great receivers of the past decade.
And Collinsworth was open again with Davis. You'll see Collinsworth go underneath. Curtis comes outside. Good tight spiral. Excellent catch. Lester Hayes is having his problems with Isaac Curtis. And watch Collinsworth open up. Same pass he caught earlier. Look at the distance. He's going a little farther, but nevertheless, another first down for the Bengals.
One back, Pete Johnson. Two tight ends. M.L. Harris joining Dan Ross. For Pete Johnson on first down.
Blunderbuss left, blunderbuss right. Pete Johnson on it there. This is a dangerous formation by the Bengals. With those two tight ends, you tend to see Anderson roll left or right, hit the offside tight end coming across the coverage. Alexander back in the game now. M.L. Harris leaves, so it's back to a tight end, two wide receivers, two running backs.
Second down 8. Ball just outside the 10. In motion, Curtis. He was looking for Isaac again.
And once again, James Davis on the coverage. Good job that time. Here comes Kreider. Mr. Clutch receiver for the Bengals for the last 2 years. Alexander comes out.
Trump, you mentioned that in order to get the kind of pass rush they need to make the single coverage, which they rely on frequently, work, they've got to get something from the linebackers. How has Cincinnati picked that off?
They got a big fullback back there who can pick the guy up. Raiders now have 4 defensive linemen.
Third down, they need 8. Anderson.
Touchdown. The Bengals are now 6 of 8 in third down conversions.
Ken Anderson led all NFL quarterbacks in yards gained rushing last year. And when he comes up out of the pocket, Ted Hendricks simply can't catch him.
You're right. And there are so many options available for the Bengals at that point. One of them, of course, being Anderson running, and he still has good speed. 73 yards on the drive. 2 minutes and 4 seconds. Anderson the last 11. Here's Kreider. Did he score? He did.
Reach for what could be the 28th point. Good snap. Good kick.
That's just the 17th point that the Raiders have allowed their opponents in the second half through this 82 season.
We heard some eerie silence last week in some of the stadiums, but this place is rocking. That's Curtis in motion. He catches the pass. A flag goes down. Curtis is in the end zone.
I have a feeling they're going to call it back. I think that's going to be an illegal pick on the Cincinnati Bengals, something that in the first half they got away with. Yes, they caught him. Kreider came inside, picks off the linebacker covering Curtis. Curtis catches the ball and goes in the end zone. Well-used play by the Bengals. Let's see if we can pick it up. You'll see Kreider come from your left. You saw his hands up on the defensive back.
Here's Dick Jorgensen's announcement.
Interference, number 86, offense, still second down.
John McNamara, former manager of the Reds, next year manager of the Angels, is in our booth. He knows the value in baseball of arguing not to change a call, but to make the umpire aware the next time it happens. Now, the Raiders argued when they thought the Bengals were guilty of an illegal pick in the first half. Could that have affected this call this time?
Absolutely, absolutely. And with what is termed by many people in the NFL as a nickel and dime offense, it's very, very important for the Bengals to get those picks.
2nd and 16. Batted up and almost intercepted. Lester Hayes got a hand on it.
That'll be 3rd down and about 15 yards for the Bengals. There's Jim Breach, field goal kicker, who was ecstatic when the California Bears beat Stanford with that rugby-style kickoff return. And that young man named, I believe his name was Moen, making his way through the Stanford band into the end zone.
He was the last of the 5 laterals.
He's the guy that started it, too.
Ran over the trombone player and took it in. They need 16. Incomplete for Curtis. He was not averse to changing the positions of all the offensive linemen for the Bengals. All the changes we talked about before. He figured if I can play tackle and guard, these guys should be able to switch and play one at a time. Breach hits it.
The Raiders have stopped the Bengals one time today without points.
A 34-yarder for Jim Breach, a 31-17 since
He appears to set up all right, has no problems going back from underneath the center. Not really pressured this time. Good interception by Jim LeClaire, stretching himself out to make it.
Now Dick Jorgensen is trotting backwards. Evidently somebody clipped on the return, Trump.
Overzealous defensive lineman.
Personal foul, clipping number 57 on the return.
Reggie
First
Williams
down.
is to not see the ball thrown by the quarterback. This is a safety blitz by the Raiders. Kreider turns his head around at the last split second and is still able to make the reception. Still able to make the reception. That is very, very difficult to do. Extremely well thrown by Ken Anderson. Good concentration on the football by Steve Kreider and a big first down.
In addition to his receiving exploits, in case you've joined us since the start of the game, he fielded a high snap on their first point after try and ran it in when Breach was unable to get the kickoff, ran it in for the extra point. Pete Johnson out, and temporarily, at least, Griffin and Alexander in. And here's Alexander carrying on first down, and he gets into Raider territory.
Reggie Williams on the blitz. Plunkett has plenty of time. I think this is a poor choice by Jim. He's double covered.
Riley leading all active interceptors with 54. In case you're wondering, the all-time record is 81 by Paul Krause with Washington and Minnesota. Emlyn Tonella, the Giants, at 79.
No chance for a reception there. Rather surprised at the throw.
Pete Johnson winds up with 23 carries for 128. Marcus Allen, 8 carries for exactly zippo. The Bengals win it 31-17. For Bob Trumpy, I'm Bob Costas. So long.